We have somebody who is a cybersecurity and data privacy consultant, Oscar Okwero. Good morning, Oscar.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, the whole team.
Good morning.
Pleasure to be here.
Karibu sana. Now, Oscar, so we had a DCI detective earlier who was a digital forensics expert. Now you're a cybersecurity and data privacy consultant. Are you a cop as well? Or are you NIS?
No, I'm not a cop.
Are you NIS?
You're a spy.
No, I'm not.
Okay, are you Army?
None
Since we're
of
going
Are
through
you
the
military
list.
intelligence?
Okay, are you Navy? I mean, come on. Okay, are we through with the list? No, Air Force. Yes.
None of those. But I know our task, or rather what we do, is kind of related to that, because whatever we find, whatever happens in the normal non-digital sphere, get its way into the digital sphere. So with the general interconnection among the whole citizenry, social media has kind of just exploded and opened that floodgates to everyone and everything. So it goes without saying, therefore, that all the threat actors that we find in normal life find their ways into the digital sphere. So that explains why it's not a very, decoupled spheres.
It
Yes.
covers everything.
Absolutely.
You'll tell us more about this. But first, CT,
Yes.
the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week, which ends tomorrow, are from the country of Sudan. Northern Sudan, as opposed to Southern Sudan. We're calling it Khartoum, Sudan, as opposed to Juba, Sudan. Okay? Love for something makes a man blind and deaf.
Love for something makes a man blind and deaf.
Yes.
Oscar, what do you make of this proverb?
I think I'll be talking to something similar to that, where ideally you see what you want to say, to summarize it. So if I want to see, if I go online and I just want to see things that kind of reinforce my assumptions, that's what you're going to see. If you also want to see something different, a lot of times, as you are going to see in our conversation, the social media engines have kind of customized their services to give you exactly what you want to see. So the tweets, the friend suggestion list, ideally there are people who you want to see, but for those, because based on what your previous interactions with other content, they're going to know what you don't like, so they're not going to show you what you don't like, because the whole business case is based on engagement, so they want to have as much engagement in the content as possible. So perhaps then that's what City is alluding to.
So they make you blind and deaf to everything else.
Absolutely.
I see. So, cybersecurity and data privacy consultant, what do you do? And how did you get to start doing what you do?
So I'll begin with how I got here. I am trained in technology security and data privacy. So I did my undergrad at Strathmore, that's BBIT. Then I got the Chevening Scholarship and went to the University of Glasgow to do my MSc in IT cybersecurity. And after that, I've worked for Deloitte East Africa as a cybersecurity consultant. And then late last year, I left to be in the International Development Organization group. I don't want to mention because for obvious reasons here. But yes, that's what I do.
Spy.
Sasa bwana, for obvious reasons, yes. Ameenda vizuri, ametoka Strathmore tunamwona.
Ameenda Deloitte.
No, alienda Glasgow kwanza tunamwona. Shivling ndio alimpeleka huko. Yote tumeona. Amerudi ako Deloitte. Bado tumeona. Then sasa ameingia development na hatumwoni.
Development security.
For obvious reasons.
Okay, Oscar, continue.
We're yanking your crank, don't worry. I get it. I get a lot of this, but I understand why, because by the very nature of what we deal with, and as I would imagine, you mentioned that there's an officer of DCI who came here earlier on. the good things don't get to their table. It's the bad things, the bad actors that get to their table. Therefore, it goes without saying that most of what they deal with are not
Good.
the good things, yes. So the same goes with social media as we know it. The good parts everybody enjoys, and you share memes, you follow your favorite celebrity, you post comments, you go for holiday, take snaps, your Diani or Bermuda or wherever. That's the good part of it. But what you don't know is how all that can be used against you, how that can be kind of weaponized and create what you call a digital persona that can be targeted for really bad actions. And I'll be explaining. And one of it is, like I earlier alluded to, based on your
Proverb.
My
your proverb. So what happens is the more you when you join social media and you give as much information about yourself to kind of customize your experience. So you're going to give them your favorite movies, your brothers and your sisters, your friends. You take pictures. Oh, this is your friends. At times they even ask you, "Is this City Muga?" Then you confirm yes. You in cost, and then you take on your picture on your iPhone. It tags the location. Of course, it knows, and then you keep confirming. Over time, it creates what you call a digital persona of who you are. They know who you are, who your friends are, your family, your favorite meals, where you go for holiday,
Your home, your
exactly,
workplace.
who you are dating, and
they know who you are. Who's they?
so the whole concept of social media is to give you an experience,
Right.
and that is what you see.
Yeah.
That is what you have. But what you don't know is that you creating what we call a digital exhaust
Right.
for every post, for every share, and they make all this into a digital persona that can then now be targeted for.
They here being the platform owners.
Yes, and at times it's even open for third-party actors who can ideally develop models that can process this data and use it for whatever they want. And I'm sure you all know about Cambridge Analytica, what they did with Facebook during the US election 2016 and the Brexit election. So that is an example of what they can do, what third-party
Why
data
have we left Kenya out of that equation? Because
I will not comment on Kenyan situation.
Carry on, yes.
Yes, but that tells you how much the data you give can be used both for the good and to the bad. And a lot of times, unfortunately, for the normal social media users, we really don't know what's happening. So you keep posting more pictures, you keep tagging your friends, you keep adding the latest book you're reading, whatever restaurant you went to, whatever you ate.
You say they don't know. Is it that they don't want to know, they're not interested in knowing? Because it's like the experience takes over everything else.
Fair point.
That, there are all these social media platforms.
Erasmus.
What is it actually called? Instagram, okay? Facebook, okay? Now, from what I have observed...
Aloy Talk.
That one also.
Oh, and this
Aloy
one.
Talk.
TikTok.
Don't worry, very soon it'll all come together.
The experience, the interactions seem to capture the people who are involved in it so that nothing else matters beyond that. And then there are these numbers I keep hearing of. Somebody has 1 million followers. I actually don't understand that, but it doesn't matter because I don't need to understand. If they say they have 1 million followers, then I assume they have 1 million people following them. And that seems to be important. Because why I'm saying this is because from a layman's position, and that's really where I am, there are a group of individuals we call influencers. And somehow this following, and it's only in social media, is very, very important to the job that they do. Then there's another group I'm told called bloggers, okay? This following again is very important. So again, the experience and the interaction seem to be fundamental to their business or whatever it is that they do. Am I understanding this thing right?
That's very correct. The whole business concept of social media and essentially the digital ecosystem is marketing. And what that therefore means is for the platforms, they reward engagement. So that's why you're going to find that the more controversial content is, the more it's shared, the more it generates traction, and then the more even in the search engine ratings, it goes higher. And the same with bloggers. Before I go to the influencers, bloggers, if you notice what they do, they try to bring as much controversial content as possible because that sells. And the more it sells, the more it creates the environment for marketing, and that is where the value from a marketing perspective comes from. So now when you go to the social media influencers, it's no different because you use the same platform, but because you want to come in between and kind of go like a step higher than the normal users, then it goes without saying that you create a platform and have followers, then you can monetize these followers to the marketers. I may also add at that point that some of these followers are actually not true followers, because it's possible to just pay for bots and create like an artificial following.
Pay for?
Bots.
What on earth is that?
Bots are automated personas who act like humans on social media. So
robots.
Yes, robots, if I may.
So you create robots?
They are third-party providers who monetize all this ecosystem to create bots, and you can hire them.
Third-party actors, meaning, if I understand you, if I want followers, I go to these third-party individuals. They are the ones who know how to create these robots who now will present themselves as my followers.
That's correct.
But in reality, they don't actually exist except in the realm where that creation took place.
That's correct. But I also have to say there are actually people with real followers, so that is also a given. But a big number by artificial followers.
So when I read that somebody has 10 million followers, it's not really true. It's robots that are following him all over.
Not in all cases.
Not in all cases.
Not in all cases.
Some people
Absolutely.
have actual followers.
Okay.
Some are artificial.
I'm assuming they have some followers. But I'm also assuming
They beef them up with.
that the robots boost these figures that we see.
Absolutely.
Are there people who just have robots and they don't actually have real people following them?
Chances are there. Yeah.
There's some robot accounts that will be followed by robots.
Okay.
So they appear
So
authentic.
So-
But then the platform owners do a lot of work in trying to weed out these bots, don't they?
Absolutely.
right.
How successful are they in these attempts?
Some are, some are not. Remember, at their core business model is engagement, and these robots help in that engagement. So it is to their interest that
They
there are some
exist.
elements of this.
Okay.
But I have to say that at some point, and I think that was sometime in 2018, when it was reported that probably over 40% of the content and engagement on Twitter is actually robots, and they're not humans.
Talking to themselves.
Yes, and bullying real people. Some even create their own content, reshare it, and then as you try to engage it, you actually think you are participating in
An
a
actual
good conversation, but literally it's robots creating content, resharing it, and they create an artificial, what you call an echo chamber, where it looks like either something is really trending and you think, oh, today in Kenya we're discussing this, or maybe in Mombasa this is the problem, but really it's probably somebody who deployed robots to create some chaos or to create some good
Narrative.
perception in some direction. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this, what you've just said, tells me that this is an aspect of how artificial intelligence. This is how that aspect of artificial intelligence works.
Absolutely.
Because if a gadget, if an object, if a machine is thinking, responding, reacting, giving information, then they're imitating human behavior.
Absolutely. And
And-
that's AI.
And they're imitating it fairly successfully.
Yes.
Okay. So it seems as though very many things can be done as a result of that. And as you've built up this conversation, you talk about building a digital persona. And one of the things that you said was that it can be used for good. It can also be used for bad.
Nefarious intent.
Nefarious intent,
Yes.
right? Now, what are some of these things that we are talking about? And even as though people want to get on social media and talk about all the wonderful things that are happening, traveling here, eating this, doing what then, where does the danger lie here in terms of what this information could be used for?
So the dangers are so many, and I'll begin with the obvious one being impersonation, where after these robots have really learned enough information about you, they can create a new version of you because they already know who you are, your birthday, your family, your friends, what you like eating, what you look like, because you
post all your
the
images.
pictures,
Yeah.
And how you communicate, because they can see
absolutely
the way you write your posts.
Yes. So the obvious risk is that they can create a version of you and use that for nefarious purposes. Like they'll create a new account with your picture, with everything else, and then they start reaching out to your friends asking for money or creating an emergency. So and so has been involved in an accident, and they're calling from the same number because they probably reached out even to your phone, ported that number to a device they control. So all the communications are coming from your line. So that's an obvious risk, and we really have to keep an eye on that, because
how do you keep an eye on it? How do I know?
How
that
do you
there's
even know
another
somebody's
Eric
cloned
Latif
your number or whatever
on social media?
Well, I think Safaricom or the Communications Authority came up with like Safaricom, if I'm not wrong, created a number where you can kind of dial some star something, and then it would give you a list of all the numbers that are registered under
the ID.
Line, remember, all these things can be faked. The ID can be faked because you created so much data online. They can use all that to. So it is not enough to just know these are the number of lines registered under your ID. So that is one way you can know, especially if it as concerns to SIM cloning. Other ways are, I will say that especially for your devices, you have to be very careful. Do not share the same device for office and personal work or personal social media browsing, because again, you really in your social life, you're going to interact with so much content that you probably don't want even your boss to know that you watch some videos and all that. The risk is that some of these videos, some of these memes, yes, they may look funny, and they have to be funny for them to get that engagement and that traction. But a lot of times they have embedded malware through which the more you share it, then the malware gets dropped into the different devices.
What is malware?
Malware is any nefarious software that intends to do harm to either your information or your device, and the risks can be so many when you go that line.
Are you telling me that there are people who simply decide that as part of the interaction with other people, they want to inject, they want to place something that will cause harm to other people?
Yeah.
That's the intention?
Yes. And they make money out of it.
That's what tickles their jollies?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how they earn their bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
So especially for the end users, you must always keep an eye that, for all your intents and purposes, for all your interactions on social media, there are actually people who are intent on causing you harm. So you must always be on the defense. Yes, within an organizational perspective, there are controls that you can put in place to kind of protect your organizational devices, your users and everything else. From a government perspective, they can pass all the many laws that Kenya we've passed, like the Cyber Crimes Act. We now have a new Data Privacy Act 2019. And we even have like a Cyber Security Strategy 2022, I think. But that is really on a bigger scale. That is, you as a user have a responsibility, because most of these do not attack governments. Most of these do not attack maybe businesses. There's a whole set of risks. But especially from a personal cybersecurity perspective, you really have to keep an eye on such engagements. And there is also something you call doxing, where doxing. Yes.
Like boxing with a D.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is simply, we know City Muga's phone number, or where you stay. Then I go and share it online. and people just call you to frustrate you or
Order
Yeah.
20 pizzas and send it to you.
exactly. Or maybe they just know your number, so they keep calling until your phone goes off because it's always on calls. And then once it goes off, that could actually be one step towards a bigger scheme. So once your phone goes off, then they do SIM porting, they steal your money from M-Pesa, or probably go even higher and create a whole new persona and commit a crime under your name. So the risks are so many that we have to really keep a
Sababu
close
umeingia
eye on.
kwenye docs bana.
That's doxy, sasa.
That's
So you're
docs.
doxing.
As you were saying doxy, I was thinking of
Doxing.
and, yes, I was thinking of an antibiotic. Doxycycline, yes.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
This one needs an antibiotic.
Hey, Oscar, you'll tell us more of those risks. And then, of course, I hope at the end of this all, you tell us how then we protect ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deactivate all your social media accounts.
Hey,
As a hermit in this world.
What? Hey! Oscar Okwero is a cybersecurity and data privacy consultant, and he's here to tell us and expose to us the risks that we expose ourselves to when we share all this personal information on social media. And Oscar, you're giving us the risks of just sharing our information and data on social media. One of them that you've said is what you said, what?
Impersonation.
Unapenda kwa docs.
it's not doxy.
Doxing is, again?
Ideally, sharing somebody's information to the general public for misuse.
So basically, I just go and post and say, this is City Muga's number.
Yes.
And this is where he lives.
And
Yes, and this is where he lives.
And this is
So
where he likes hanging out.
just the number or where you live is enough, and that will
just expose you to.
yes.
Okay. Another one?
So obviously, from now a cyber risk perspective, there is the risk of hacking, and especially when you use the same devices for both your social interactions and work. Like many people work from home nowadays, and you use the same machine. So that's a big risk because, unbeknown to you, you can transfer the risks from your personal engagement on social media to now the enterprise network. Because
Wow.
when somebody has access to your phone, and you use the same phone to access work emails, then it just piggybacks onto the organizational infrastructure.
But how?
And that's a whole risk here.
How?
Well, we call them viruses and malware, depending on what the developer has as an intention. They can just use your social media as an entry point, but probably their end game is to get into, they know where you work, so they get back into what you do, the organization you work for, and then now they can do whatever they want to do. So some of these are really targeted. There is something we call welling, where you look at an organization, the key staff of that organization, say the CEO, and he's always on social media sharing something, and you kind of know what he likes. So you create a content
that's
with malware attached, and you're sure he's going to interact with it, and he uses his phone, which he also uses for organizational email, back into the organization. Then now you can do whatever you want to do. So that's a really real big risk to organizations, and organizations have taken steps to protect themselves because from an enterprise perspective, they have what you call the mobile device management and mobile application management. So ideally, yes, the device is yours, but the data is ours. So, or the applications are ours, the applications you use to do your work. So should they notice anything
Untoward.
yes, then they can wipe your device remotely, or they can deny access from that point. So those are controls that organizations take towards protecting themselves. But again, like I said, the weakest link is the actual user on social media who chances are do not know of these risks and do not take the necessary precautions. So a lot of times this is the weakest link, and for attackers, you can do 1,000 things right, but just that one thing you didn't do correctly, that's what they use, and that's all they need to do whatever they want to do. So it is really important for both organizations and individuals to take data privacy seriously, to know what the risks are, to actually take steps to protect themselves, because it's not about you, it's also about everybody else. the memes you share in a family group, yes, you may take all the precautions, but when somebody does not do the right thing, then everybody's at risk. Yeah, so it's really important that we know about this and you actually take steps to protect ourselves against that.
What I'm hearing you just saying, do not open, don't click on those links.
Best
Try
case
as
scenario,
much as possible not to.
absolutely, because you never know what's behind it.
Why? So what are we consuming on social media then? It's about memes, man.
Every time one looks at a subject such as the one you're discussing, the thing that seems to be at the heart of all this is not the threat or the problem, but it's the benefit that one derives from this to begin with. Because that's the pull. It affords you a certain comfort. It affords you a certain ability. It affords you a certain ease. But then within that is embedded risks that you have no clue about.
Absolutely. And if I may just use numbers to justify that, I think this is something I was reading just before I came in here, that last year, I think 2022, and this was the Department of Trade in the US, they said essentially online scam cost the US economy around 770 million USD.
Hey.
Online?
Yes,
Online
scams. And out of this, 4 out of 10 came through social media. So that's, do your math, that is probably maybe 3 out of 7, that's probably 300 million USD in losses that came through social media, either through employees not doing what they should have done, or resharing emails, or using easy to guess passwords, or maybe lost devices that are then an analysis is done by threat actors to recover your passwords or your account, and then they use this to attack the organization. So it actually has real dollar amounts attached to it, and of course that is what organizations listen to. And when they listen to, and also countries have taken really big steps to protect their ecosystem against this. But I will go back to what I've said from the very beginning. The weakest link in this trail is the end user who just goes to Facebook in the morning to see what's trending, Twitter to see what's trending, go to Instagram to share their pictures, go to probably TikTok to watch the short videos and just to have fun. Unbeknown to them, this is where really the money is. And of course the attackers know this, and they know that when they come, say through guns, they want to steal your phone, so they get the passwords. That's too complicated. But they can come through a funny meme that for sure you like. And through that, you literally give them the keys to the gate and, do whatever you want. Yeah.
You know what you're saying, if I were to take it literally, then I would delete any meme that comes into my phone. Anything that I don't seem to understand, I will delete.
That should be the ideal case. But we being humans, that's part of our social engagement.
Curiosity.
Yes.
Curiosity.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is why, for all intents and purposes, whatever controls we put into place, they will never be 100% effective, because we're curious. We want to see, you don't want me to open this site, why?
Yeah.
Then I go open it.
Eric mentioned something about this malware and the business that people are in it. How does the creation of malware, how does it present itself as a business? You're in the business of creating harm, so how is that beneficial to you?
So it's the same question you'd ask yourself, why do people rob banks? Because that is where the money is.
Yes.
So then...
Ndu would say touche.
Yes.
Yes.
So now government services have gone online. If you want to apply for, say, your driving license, you pay it online.
Yeah.
You want to, say, book your vacation, it's online. You want to probably order takeaway meals, it's online. They're stored somewhere. There are systems that manage these transactions online. So instead of getting a gun to go to a bank, and this is a very, it's an easier proposition to threat actors. And it's also because your victim a lot of times does not know you're there. So the cost may be higher for less effort. So that's...
So you create the malware, and then when someone clicks, you basically then plant a virus into their device.
Correct.
And then that virus is able to start mining data
Yes.
from what they're doing.
Yes.
So they'll leave this particular tab that has this social media platform, which is where you clicked, and then they will go into this other tab that has their mobile bank, online banking. They'll enter their banking passwords and everything, and they'll open their account, and then this thing is just reading everything
Yes.
and sending back the information quietly and silently back to the malware creator.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So all of these things that we are talking about that are risks or dangers are actually things that cause harm or danger on the other side. Somebody impersonating you could go and do something criminal with your name, right? Somebody going into your system can steal your money. Somebody can go ask people for money or defraud others with your name. All of these things with a negative tinge to them, which are crimes, right?
Correct.
We previously heard that there's a footprint on everything, down to the detail. You can find out who did what.
Absolutely.
Right? So, is there room now in this space within which we are speaking about then to start making traces and get the people behind all of these creations to pay for what they're doing?
Yes. Every so often, the real cybercrime gangs are apprehended and they're made to pay. But like you said, in the digital sphere, the digital applications and products keep changing. Technology keeps changing. So, yes, you may have this mitigation today, but they're always ahead of the game. The police officers, legislation, they're always catching up. And they cannot be at par because, like I said, it's like playing football. It's easier to strike than to defend. Because defend, you're going to react to what the striker does. But the striker has a million things that they could do to the defender. You get my point?
Yeah.
So the risks are there and they're always going to be there. And the more interconnected we are, the more new systems come aboard, the more people come online. And a lot of these people come online do not even know some of these risks.
Yeah.
So there is always a low-hanging fruit through which they can come. However much you protect your organization, however much you protect your device, there's always something or someone who's going to do something stupid to open that door.
So who do you go and report to? It's not a cybersecurity police station somewhere in the cloud. Who do you go and report these things to and say, because you've just said the police are always catching up, for example. So who do you take this to? Somebody's hacked into your operation system, somebody's done something, impersonated you. Where do you take it?
So in Kenya, we have the Cyber Incidents Response Center, where I think they have that communication somewhere in the CA website, where you can actually report incidents. But like you rightfully said, the cybercrime and the normal crime are probably cybercrime is even higher than the normal crime. But I don't know whether our security forces have the ability, like you go to a police station and say your phone was hacked, then the askari writes the OB. So what are they going to do that OB, But I also know that we have I think it was launched sometime last year, there's a forensics unit, forensics lab in the Kenya Police. I would imagine this is part of what they deal with. But for the normal user, beyond reporting to the CA, I think really the onus is on you to protect yourself. Before the organization comes in to support you, the damage may be done already. So it is better to know this, protect yourself, and that which you cannot do for yourself, say from an organizational perspective, they do it. And then the country or the security forces within the country also do what they do at a country level. But the risk, I have to unfortunately be the bearer of bad news that we are never going to catch up with these threat actors because there is always something changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I were to use a phone that isn't a smartphone, am I safer?
You are safer than somebody with a smartphone.
I know I'm able to do less with
Yes.
the phone beyond calling and sending SMSs,
That's correct.
but I'm safer.
You're safer. And may I also add that a lot of times, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but if you haven't, please just be keen that just by having your phone around you, a lot of times, say you have a discussion about ice cream. Discuss ice cream. Then the next time you go online, you get an advert on ice cream. Then you ask yourself how. So unbeknown to us, most of these smartphones have so many sensors, some of which you don't know. You know of the camera and probably the speaker. But there are probably thousands of other sensors that the manufacturers will never declare to you because they don't need to. So a lot of times when you're sleeping and your phone is next to you because you're expecting a call, whatever call, it probably tracks your sleeping pattern. What time do you sleep? How much do you turn in bed? And these are all data points that can be used to create a very accurate persona.
Sell you a
of
mattress.
Absolutely.
A new pillow.
Change.
Yes. Or if you snore as you sleep, then
Get up
Start
and
bringing
walk.
you sleep
You know.
apnea things.
yeah. So in short, you are safer off with a feature phone than a smartphone, but you're safer without a phone.
Time for a
City,
new
what's wrong?
girlfriend.
Change your shirt.
All these things that you're telling us, Oscar, so it's yes, there are risks, but let's bring it down to Kenya. Are there incidences that you've heard of in Kenya where a crime was committed and looking back, it's traced back to somebody's social media habits?
Yes, we hear it every day on social media, where especially these influencers, something as simple as you create content or you're a content creator, and then somebody takes the same content and posts in their own page.
So it's
Okay.
theirs.
Yes,
Yeah.
as if it's theirs. Of course, they get the clicks and the revenue out of it. And then a lot of times that's easy to deal with because you have one
That's just
platform.
a copycat.
Yes. So
Okay.
that you report that to the platform management and they bring it down. But a lot of times, because you want to be the first person to say, have some information, you always send every nefarious information to the bloggers. And beknown to them, this could be the easiest ways to get into their lives and essentially bring down their whole business empire. And this has happened before. Not so big on following bloggers, but every so often when I go online, I see similar cases. But the biggest case, of course, we all know of Naivas, the data breach. Yes, a lot of times these are not people who come with the guns or bulldozers and break into your data center and carry your devices away. No, the easiest way to get in are through the employees, and for all intents and purposes, you may train all your employees, tell them all the right things, but they're always changing.
Yeah.
Somebody leaves today, another one comes in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Probably there is a delay between the provisioning of an old email address of somebody who's left, and of course, these threat actors, if they're so determined on that organization, they know who is left, and they probably think you haven't disabled their emails. So they test, and if it's still active, that becomes the entry point. So those are some of the examples. I really don't want to go into the details because there's a lot, especially the banking sector.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're hit and they
Well,
don't
government
talk
websites as
about
well.
it. Yeah.
Can I ask one question though about the platforms that we get onto for internet? I remember we took a trip last year and CT was adamant that he's not getting on the hotel Wi-Fi, and he said absolutely not, I will not do it. Okay, so is that also is that a danger, getting onto public Wi-Fi and things like that, whereby somebody could actually creep in onto your network and do the same things that we've been speaking about today? It's something that we take for granted, but is it?
Yes, that's a very real risk, and I still get surprised that people literally go with the work devices and to Java and connect to the Wi-Fi and you're working from there. I'm like, really, you should know better at least.
No,
From
we do not know better.
No.
And that Wi-Fi is free. So,
And protected, whatever.
yes.
So the real risk is that And like, say, organizational Wi-Fi that has extra security controls, a lot of times these hotels or these restaurants provide that Wi-Fi as a value addition. So it is not, they have no motivation to protect it like, say, an organization would want to protect their networks. So a lot of times the traffic in that open network is literally unencrypted. So somebody can just, log in and kind of capture your traffic, and straight away they have your password. And woe unto you if this was organizational work that you're doing or organizational email, and probably you are a key, maybe technology person or finance person. So then they have access to the finance services and the technology services. So my advice, do not access those. Always have your own, get your MiFi or probably your phone. They're safer. You're safer that way than joining an open network here.
So don't do those transactions. Like, don't go there and get onto
do not
the company platform.
Just
or you go there and start banking. Do you enter online banking from a public Wi-Fi? What?
That's like just asking the robbers to take the keys.
Here I am.
It's like standing somewhere and saying, so my password
is
this one. So telling everybody publicly. I think there's a lot that people just need to know and just keep thinking of constantly and remembering what we need to be careful about. But we thank you very much, Oscar, for joining us today. Oscar Okwero is a cybersecurity and data privacy expert, and he's been telling us how to navigate digital platforms, especially social media, kind of information that then you share on social media, and how that becomes a risk and an entry point for very many other risks for your other personal life.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.